the one thing the one thing I've learned is that like it's really easy to let go of stuff because like oh I like when I have a good idea or whatever I know I can always come up with another idea. It's like, that's just one cup from the well. And so it's just like, even though yeah, we had lots of fun before we hit record. We can always just have more fun and have more good banter and say things
Mm.
that are acceptable to the gods of YouTube, which I
Yes.
love. I
Oh
love.
yes.
I think
YouTube
the
is the
gods of
Yes.
best.
YouTube are false gods,
They
personally.
the AI is
They're
very
Nephilim.
useful. I really appreciate the AI. It reads my words very accurately.
Yeah, apparently. YouTube is awesome. Um, other positive things about YouTube.
YouTube, we love you. Let's just put your balls in our mouth and oh God, YouTube, you need to shave. You need to shave,
Yeah,
YouTube.
I mean YouTube. I mean, I just was started cooking some dinner in the other room. It's almost done. I mean, you already know where I live. Do you want to come over and maybe join in for a little
Hey,
bit and like, you know,
hey.
we could just figure all this stuff out, and just like
Ooh.
YouTube, he has a disease. Be careful.
it's called love.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that is kind of a disease that it takes away our
It is.
separation, brings us together. It's like, and when we're together, we're more likely to spread pathogens. So love is probably dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, love
I think.
is love is like bad medicine, but bad medicine is what I need.
Oh, whoa.
Mm, that's a
Shake
bad
it up.
romance.
It's like bad medicine. That's a great song. Speaking of Bon Jovi, we're going to talk about Uranus tonight.
Yeah,
That is our
yeah.
main goal. Uh,
So,
as a planet,
Because
so
just like Uranus, love is a highway, and I want to ride it all night long.
huh,
oh yeah. I
very
mean,
interesting.
yeah.
Uranus, that is.
Uranus has a ring around it, is what I've noticed, and it operates in a weird way, doesn't it? Like spin in a strange way compared to all the other planets. Doesn't it have like most planets go like this way, and it
It
goes like
goes.
this way, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's weird. That's
Yeah,
weird. It's a weird
that's
planet. Maybe that's why it's connected with high strangeness, oddities, sudden events, things coming out of the blue, right? Coincidences sometimes
yeah,
are
yeah.
considered part of it. It's kind of like the moment when God steps in and makes his voice heard or her voice heard if you're
Gay.
gay.
No,
Uh,
but
what?
this, God is a man. God damn it. I don't know. No, I'm just
God
kidding.
is a man. He's a man.
He does. He
Uh,
doesn't have. He doesn't have genitalia. He's
I
not a.
don't. I bet God's got a big dick, but I don't know, It could be that God split himself into two, and first, and there's a masculine and feminine side of God. Could be. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that the goddess
That's
doesn't
polarity.
exist because
That's
it
polarity.
kind of feels like maybe she does.
Yeah.
Even if girls
Oh.
like her. Even if
Oh.
girls like her, it's okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that's against the rules?
No, that's fine. Because if you call God a woman, then you are on track for PC wokeness. So you're good.
Oh, I'm not calling God a woman.
Yes, you are. How,
Okay.
how
Okay.
dare you? How
How
dare
dare
you?
you? How dare you
No.
misgender God? Aren't you on the
I'm
track
so
to
excited by this conversation. You
Yeah.
know,
he's on the track to SJW wokeness because he's like mad that I misgendered God. Who gets mad
I
about
am
that?
I am I am turning into a SJW. Now
Oh,
that
cool.
Trump is elected or now that Trump is running the fucking country, I am full blown SJW. So
Cool.
you got you they thems need to fucking calm your
that's why
shit.
you're in red and black, right?
Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
that makes sense. The red and black.
Yeah. Red.
What doesn't that say "call me" on your shirt, right?
It does. It says Vita.
Hmm.
It,
What does
it
Vita
doesn't
mean?
doesn't doesn't
Life.
that mean "kami" in Russian?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Ah,
No,
yes,
no, it doesn't.
comrade. Yes, comrade. Good, comrade. I am what is yours is mine, and we shall kill 30 million people to make it happen. Let's go.
Damn. Hey Troy, what do you know about Uranus or
Uh,
Uranus?
basically almost nothing.
Okay.
I know it's a planet, and that's about it.
Well, when you think you know something, when you have like a when you build up this thing and you build this like structure in your mind of like this is what it is, this is reality, this is what I know. Uranus goes, nope,
Nope.
nope, you're wrong.
It's a
Here's why.
placeholder.
Yep.
I mean, like
It's
it's a common but for many jokes.
yes. It is part of a mini
All right, get out of our
astrological.
systems. Yeah.
It's part of
Yeah.
many astrological
Hey, I'm
jokes.
proud of that joke.
Oh.
Astronauts. There we go.
Butts and
Oh,
stuff
we got
and
him.
urine, anus and butts
Yes.
and anuses and what's an anus anyway? What? Who made that word? That's a ridiculous word.
It used to be
Anus.
called Herschel. The planet Uranus used to be called Herschel
Hmm.
because it was named after the person that discovered it. And then they were like, ah, shit, we got to change the name. Let's get a fucking god. All right, God, are we going to do
Uranus.
your Uranus?
Uranus. But
Which doesn't really make sense for its energy. I've heard that the energy is more associated with who's the guy that like gave man fire and then
Prometheus. Fuck
Prometheus.
yeah.
I've heard
Yeah.
it's more
Fuck
Promethean
yeah.
in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Oh no, I'm all for
But
that.
but remember, Antimetheus brought ice to the planet. So
And the ice giants thanked him for it profusely.
mhm. No,
Absolutely.
no. Okay, let's break that down though, because yeah, like Uranus or Uranus or whatever the fuck the Greeks doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because he wasn't a fucking liberator. He wasn't. I mean, there was no the mythology around that god. Or was he a Titan or a god? I think he was a god.
He was the father of Saturn.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he was like even harsher and more shitty than Saturn,
Yeah.
which Saturn was considered pretty
Here,
harsh.
let's let's actually be smart about it. Hold on. Yeah, no. It doesn't make sense. And Prometheus makes more sense, and we can attribute. I think what is that? Is that a Tarnus thing? Richard Tarnus? Was that his idea, or is that go back before him?
Tarnus, I think, was the one that brought that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about I read something about Uranus?
Please.
So this is from the book Astrology, a Cosmic Science by Isabel M. Hickey.
Oh, I love that
Yeah.
book, dude. Beautiful.
According to the Greek myth, Saturn robbed his father Uranus of the dominion of the world. Uranus was given the rulership of the heavens. Blah blah blah. Okay. Oh, well, let's see. There is no power in the chart stronger than Uranus, is what she thought. It is a symbol of the super will when it is operating in its most constructive sense.
Yeah.
The key word of Uranus is "Behold, I maketh all things new." The American Indians spoke of the sun being a hole in the sky and said the real sun was behind the hole. They were talking of Uranus. It is the one planet in the chart that you can do nothing about. It always operates through another person or through circumstances over which you have no control. What is in your power is how you will react. You have the ability to react rightly or wrongly.
No, I dig that. I like the idea because if we're gonna say that Uranus rules Aquarius, and Aquarius is opposite Leo, which is ruled by the sun, there's like some kind of connection there between if we're talking about the sun and it's
Secret sun and the regular sun.
yeah. Like I mean, there's something with oppositions where they they obviously balance each other, but they they explain each other too. And I think that's something in astrology that people tend to like. It's like you need to like if you're gonna study like, oh, I'm a this sign, study the opposite sign too, because you can learn a weird amount of stuff from and maybe it's like the shadow of one sign expresses as the opposite sign or whatever it is, but there's some value to that. And so maybe I'm just going back to what you're saying, like I think she was. I mean, that book is fucking tits. I think she was onto something. And I think that there's some value to understanding, like, because Uranus, it's I mean, obviously now in like modern astronomy, we know that Uranus is not a fucking sun or anything related to that. But like, I
Mhm.
think as far as like how people act, whether we're talking about Aquarius or Leo, there is that makes sense. There's something to that. So, and yeah, I think that like I also think that yeah, like again, we're talking about we also I mean, I don't know if we want to hit on this, but the whole distinction between the whole modern rulership and traditional rulership, because yeah, it's like, Uranus, Pluto, Neptune. I do think that they do give good insight into their modern rulership and the signs that they
For
rule.
sure.
And I think that people dismiss them outright. And I think that's unnecessary because I think that, yeah, there's value to like understanding the traditional rulership, but like there's also strong value, like especially with like Pisces. I mean, even with Scorpio, but Pisces and
Oh, for sure with
Aquarius,
Scorpio.
especially.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like Pluto makes sense completely. And so does Neptune for Pisces, and so does Uranus for Aquarius. And so
for sure.
there's strong value to that. And I think when people just dismiss it outright, it's like,
Well,
like
there
try.
a lot of those people are like they're caught up in ideology around astrology, right? And like a lot of those are influenced by Hellenistic astrology and like what's popular, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like if somebody tells you like it's kind of like how on in the groups they say cusps aren't real and now cusps are just like because people have been beat so hard about saying cusps are real, now nobody dares say it anymore. It's like there's certain things that a community, if they're strong enough around something, they can basically make the rules. Um, Even
Cusps
though
aren't
cusps,
real though.
what?
Uh,
Cusps might be real. I don't care. It
no,
doesn't
no, they're
matter to
not.
me.
They're not.
I
They're
don't think
not. They're
they
not.
are though. It doesn't feel like they are.
They're not. They're
There's
not.
definitely like a difference between one to the other.
There's
Um,
a yeah. That's important. You need to have those distinctions. But yes, right,
yeah,
Troy.
Troy's
I
gone.
mean, I don't need I'm still just trying to understand like Uranus. Like, so
Okay,
what does it
let's take it
do?
back. Let's step back. Let's walk it back. Let's walk it back. Troy, there is
I'm
a
still
planet
being like,
in the
okay,
sky.
it's got 28 moons. It apparently has some rings that are hard to see. It's mostly a cold gas giant.
Yep,
It's made
naturally.
up of mostly ammonia and water.
Boring.
Smells like farts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the second biggest gas giant,
Yes. What's the first biggest gas giant?
Saturn.
Is Jupiter not a gas giant? When did
Ju-
Jupiter stop being a gas giant?
Ju- Jupiter. Jupiter's a gas. I don't think that's correct. It's not the second biggest. I think it goes Jupiter.
It was the
Is
second
Uranus
biggest.
bigger than Saturn?
I'm not sure. I think Neptune is a little bit bigger than Uranus, isn't it?
Wait a minute.
We got to figure this out.
God damn it.
Doing science in here, up in this
No,
bitch.
no. Jupiter and Uranus are the biggest fucking gas giants.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah. No, 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 no. It's the third biggest.
So
Trust my Wikipedia entry.
No, 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 no.
Uranus, there's a lot of old school. It's believed that at some point in our history, we actually knew Uranus existed.
I believe
There's
that.
some evidence that points that we used to know about it and then we forgot about it during one of our many unfortunate human experiences of collapse. And we found it again in like 1781, I think. It was like right around there. It was right around the revolution. So when planets are discovered, uh, a lot of the things that are happening around the world in that time, especially that are novel, that are just starting to happen, become connected with that planet. And that's why Uranus became connected with the ideas of revolutionary or revolution. It became synonymous with sudden and wrenching and sometimes violent changes because of the French Revolution. It was right connected with that right after the American Revolution that it was found. Um, it's connected with rationalism, with the scientific method. It's considered connected with technology and technological advancement and growth. Um, what else is it connected with? It's connected with futurism, focused on the future. It is, I think, partially along with all the outers. have some connection with prophecy and seeing beyond the veil, I think, which is something that
Oh
I know
yeah.
that we wanted to
Oh
talk
yeah.
about a little bit tonight.
No, no,
But,
absolutely. Oh, sorry.
but
Go ahead.
Uranus is also like flashes of insight, right? It's like, have you ever been sitting and maybe your mind's been kind of running around a problem, and then suddenly you feel like the universe itself is shoving information from the sky into your head, and you're having like this idea that you're possessed by, instead of just an idea that like you're normally kind of plodding along working to, because that's like a Uranian idea. Sometimes that shit just downloads into your head, and I heard it happens more for air signs. So I'm not sure if you've ever had this happen to you, Troy. Have you ever had this happen to you?
Oh yeah. I get
Oh,
I
good.
get
Yeah.
I get full conceptual downloads, uh and most of them are like it's like condensed ideas cuz it connects it'll basically be like, "Oh, here it connects these ideas together." So it'll basically be like a whole idea, or like it'll be a eureka moment where it connects a whole bunch of things. That's usually how I get it.
I would say that the eureka moment is entirely Uranian. It is that is the essence of positive Uranus. Uranus.
Yeah. Oh
Well,
no,
let it
no.
rain down on me.
100%. And just like it's the eureka moment, but it's also like when we think, and the negatives is like when we think that like, oh well, I have this idea and it must be better than what was. That can be the negatives, because it's, if we just assume that any new idea is better, that can be like a negative, because it's like, you have, that's, you test the new idea based in reality, because you can like let your mind go into like fucking unreality, and not like Neptune style where you're like just in delusion land. I'm talking like ideas that are just detached from reality. So like, for example, like, like you say like, oh well, and this is why in a way like certain ideologies are ruled by maybe Uranus, is you can say, well, as if only we could do this, this, and this, then things would be better and everything would be better for everyone. That's like a Uranus like ideal. It's like, okay, well, like if we could just do this, this, and this, but it doesn't take into account that human beings are human beings, and you can't just force change or
Page.
force everyone to like think your idea as well. So like someone might have like a flash of insight and go like, oh well, if everyone just did this thing that I just realized and I have it all figured out, but like, well, how are you going to implement that idea? And so that's,
Well,
and so just going back to what Mike was saying, like every planet outside of Saturn is outside of reality. And so we have to remember that, because like Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, as well as like all the trans-Neptunian objects, Eris,
Yep.
Sedna, like all of them are outside of like, and so if you want to implement these ideas that they bring, you have to bring them back to Saturn, which represents the cold fucking hard reality of,
Reality. Yep.
yeah. And so it doesn't matter how great your idea is, or like if you have like a flash of insight and you're like, oh, I figured it all out. If you can't bring that back and somehow bring it into reality and then work with reality to make it your idea, you're going to either come up with a resistance, or you have to, you know, get rid of everyone who disagrees. Or, I mean, there's a lot of negatives that can
Yes.
come from that. So like,
yeah.
all the planets outside of Saturn have, they're good ideas, but bringing them back to Saturn to bring them into practical reality for people is like the hardest thing that people I think struggle with. And that's where we have like, communism, whether it's Uranus or Neptune. I think it's kind of a combo of both. For example, communism, like, it's a, oh great, everyone is, equal and everyone has what they need and everyone is provided for and blah blah blah. But it's like the reality of that, to get to that point, they brought it back to, okay, well, we need to kill off everyone who disagrees. We need to murder millions of people, and
Yes.
then just the people who are left, they'll all agree and we'll all get along and it'll be perfect utopia. It's like, no, like and I think utopias are partially ruled by Uranus, if not fully. And
Well, there's the Neptunian delusion
yeah,
with that too, I'd
exactly,
say. Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's where, like I say,
And the
partially.
Plutonian will to power.
Yes,
It's
no, no,
all those things work together against
yes,
us, man. I swear.
exactly, and that's where it's. But anything again, that where it comes back to anything physically outside of Saturn, it becomes like this like swirl of like kind of like non-reality, and it doesn't mean that that's bad because non-reality can bring in brilliant insights and brilliant understanding and like compassion beyond just the individual compassion. Like there's a million positives, but if you don't bring it back to reality and go, how can I work this into reality in a way that actually works? So like Troy, for like if you look at the solar system, all the planets that are inside of Saturn up to Saturn are like reality that we experience, like whether it's relationships, it's our our day-to-day stuff, or our how the world is run, like government, and just basic like functions of society. Everything outside of Saturn is insights, dreams, like idealism, all the things, like all the things that we want for reality. But where people struggle or where they hit this wall is like, it's like, oh well, this is how it should be. Great, cool. How do you bring how it should be in back into reality? And that's and so like even like how the solar system is laid out, like with like the sun, and then all the Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, those planets, and the moon is like, and all the asteroids in the asteroid belt as well, because they're all within that, so they're all part of that inner reality. Like that's like all of those archetypes have to do with functional reality. Anything outside of Saturn has to do with the reality that we want, or like the what we want to bring into reality. And so that's where like studying astronomy can be beneficial, because you can like go, okay, like if something is outside of Saturn, that means it's part of this larger uh like it's this larger kind of thing where like you have to, if you want to bring like, and there's 1,000 things outside of Saturn. So
Yes.
like if we're going to study those things, like how do you bring them back into reality and not just like get lost in them basically?
Well, I think Uranus too, when properly channeled and used, when that energy is used well, actually increases the range of Saturn, what's possible, right?
Yeah.
Because when you bring Uranian ideas into back through Saturn's gate, it's like Saturn moves out a couple more steps, like gives more
Yeah.
of a
Yeah.
big picture. And that's like the progressive aspect of Uranus. It like breaks up the established structures so that new things can come from it. And it
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
always break up the established structures in a very kind way. Um, I would say that like accelerationism, like that, is a very Uranian energy. Just trying to get things to move as fast towards like whatever uncertain future you might be aiming them towards.
Yeah.
Acceleration is all about like moving things faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I feel like there's a lot of people right now that are so sick of fucking the Saturnian limits. Or the masters of the gate, so to speak, of Saturn, that there's a lot more accelerationist energy. So I think people are becoming more Uranian, which makes sense moving into this Pluto and Aquarius big chunk that we have, or into the Aquarian age, as
Oh
people
yeah.
say.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it might be that humans start being able to use the outer planet energy more easily after we get through these tests. But
Oh
as
yeah.
far as now, channeling outer energy, very not good for the human body. Like getting too into your Pluto, getting too into your Uranus, getting too into your Neptune tend to not be great
Oh yeah.
for people.
Well, especially just basic life. Like, I mean, if we're like talking like big ideas and like trying to like transform the society and all this stuff, sure, like those are things to tap into. But if you're like just talking about like, I just need to live my life, I have these bills to pay, I gotta just, day to day bullshit, like, tapping into that stuff's not gonna really, I mean, yeah, you might go like, oh, well, if only things were better, because if only society was better, great. Yeah, sure. That would be great. Like, and then your day to day would be better. But you're not going to get much help from tapping into those planets on the day to day stuff. What it does is it's like it can influence and teach you like, okay, well, like if society, like, this is where we can push society to be better, so that my day to day, again, moving towards the inner planets, like in our psyche, like that becomes better, because like, okay, if I don't have to deal with the bullshit of day to day as much, like, oh, I gotta, again, pay my bills, for example,
Yes. Right.
like if you transform society, then that obviously trickles into how, but it's not, you also, because they are slower moving planets, you have to take that into account as well. Like the astronomy always, I think the astronomy dictates the purpose of the planets. And so like slower moving planets obviously take time for their influence to happen. Obviously. I mean, that's not like a new idea, but I'm just saying, like, whereas like if we're talking about like a Mercury or a Venus or a Mars transit, or like just how quickly they move, like exactly, like those are quicker changes in your life, but they're also smaller changes in your life, so to speak, or less like impactful in like a grand scheme of things. And so yeah, like, and I will say, like, and this is something with Uranus. So, we had the Uranus Pluto conjunction in the 60s, in the late 60s. And then
Yep.
we had the Uranus Pluto square in like the mid 2010s.
2012 maybe, I think, or
Yeah, yeah,
2010. Yeah, it
yeah,
was right around
2000,
there.
yeah, 2012, kind of, it like did its thing through the mid 2010s, and it's done now. We're now moving into a Uranus Pluto trine,
Yeah.
which is like, okay, that's a really positive. I mean, trying is supposed to be the best aspect. I mean, I don't want to get into like the nuances of that
Jeez.
shit, but
I'm
yeah,
trying. I'm trying.
yeah, he's trying. But like, the hard aspects showed, like, okay, this is like, we need to, like, if we talk about the late 60s and like all the idealism of that, like what the ideals of that was, and then we talk about like the mid 2010s, like obviously there was a lot of bullshit, but there was also, it's like disrupting the status quo again, moving forward. Well, now we can tap into the energy of those two working very well together to, like, there's the potential now is there for people to really like tap into a positive change. And like, I mean, if we want to talk about like the positives of Uranus, now's the time to like really tap into them, because Pluto's influence is going to be very strong, and it's going to be very
Yes.
good, especially being in the sign of Aquarius, which, if we talk about modern rulership, Uranus rules. And so there's like a really positiveness. And then Uranus being in an air sign, it's very comfortable there.
Yep.
So, and yeah, so now is the time for shit to be positive and good and really bring in this insight and bring in these changes. Whereas, like, the just the taking down the old guard, the status quo, challenging it, causing issues. That was like the late 60s, and then also the 2010s. Not like the bullshit of like, oh well, I'm a man, but I was born in a woman's body. Like, well, no, I'm talking like real societal changes for the better of humanity. So like,
Yeah.
and that's maybe part of it, but that's a small part of it. But yeah,
Well, I think the biggest things that happened. So you had the Pluto Uranus conjunction in Virgo, if I remember right.
yes,
So it was all like people that, like, there was the Back to the Earth movement,
yeah,
environmentalism kind of came out of it, like it coincided with like the rise of environmental movements, ecology movements, which I think are good things, right? We shouldn't be pouring, like, I mean, there's negative things about them, but we shouldn't be pouring like waste into our rivers and shit. I mean,
oh yeah,
pretty much everybody agrees now that we shouldn't allow corporations to just poison our water and air at will,
yeah,
and that largely came from that shift. And then the square was Pluto and Capricorn versus Uranus and Aries. And that was
mm-hmm.
really all about people being tired of like a corrupt ruling class. I mean, and the ruling class was becoming more and more exposed under the Pluto and Capricorn era.
Yeah,
So you had like lots of things that came out of this. You had like a bunch of huge protest movements that happened in the US and Europe and the Middle East. There was tons of that happening all across the world. There was Occupy that was directly coincided with that in the US. There was the Arab Spring that directly coincided with that. And there was tons of stuff in Europe too. I don't remember exactly what was happening in Europe, but there was certain things that were happening then too, which I was really paying attention to at the time, but since I've forgotten. It was probably just French, like, being French again. But the one thing that I do remember is like the crackdown in Spain when they had a protest movement, because Spain did not fuck around. They were like, no, the plutocracy is going to win. Get back in your houses or we will beat you half to death. That was like basically
Mm.
their run on it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that was all about like Uranus and Aries, right? So it was like, we're tired of being constrained. We want to be free. We're tired of being under the rulership of these fucking assholes. Fuck them. And that was the energy that came out. And it wasn't very well planned. It was largely from the youth energy that was coming from. And youth
Yeah.
are super good at protesting, but they're really bad at like making it do anything useful, right?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
great at the fire, the
Yeah.
initial
Yeah. Yeah.
fire, but if
That's
they don't bring any people around them that actually have wisdom and understanding, like they need the older generations to buy into it. And
hmm
that's why protest movements usually fail, because it's all youth that are up their own ass. And then they end up like being stupid, and making life harder for the rest of the fucking workaday people. And then people are like, take them down, They
Oh yeah.
want the system to shut those fuckers up because they're being fucking kids,
Yeah.
or they have ridiculous goals, like
No, no. Or or they don't have ridiculous goals, but they if you're pushing so hard for change, you have to acknowledge like yeah, your goals might be to like create change, but you like I think the hardest thing that especially the youth and I used to struggle with this is like if you're trying to create change, like you have to acknowledge what is. And I think
yeah,
that's a big lesson with Uranus, and that's why like Uranus comes right after Saturn because like Saturn is what is, and like you have to if you want to change you have to work with what is and then like you can't just go oh well just fucking fuck everything in the past like fuck your how you do things this is what's right it's like no you have to work because people don't operate that way especially as people get older and so you have
yes,
to work with how they are to push towards what you want and I think that's the biggest and we see this in every generation like and obviously after Uranus Pluto conjunction, it became like a bigger thing, which makes sense. But like you you can't just go like, oh well your old ideas are stupid, fuck you. It's like no, you have to go, okay, I understand your old ideas. Here's where they're wrong, here's where they can be, or not wrong, here's where they are limiting.
yeah,
Here's how we can be better. And I think that's the biggest lesson with like strong Uranus placements in the chart or that strong Uranus energy or whatever it is. Like yeah, like acknowledging reality for what it is and then how you can work within reality for what it is to change it for the better. Because I think that's the biggest problem is like it's dismissing reality for what it is instead of accepting reality for what it is. Because if you just dismiss it, then you're not going to create a strong foundation to build upon to create that change. You have to
yep,
acknowledge what reality is. You have to acknowledge what is because that's where like like human progression is in a way a line. So if you want to create change and move forward, you have to ground yourself in what was to then move forward. And that's the biggest
yep,
problem with like most youth. Like they, the fire of youth is like, oh well, I'm just gonna fucking burn it all down and start fresh. It's like that doesn't
yes.
work. It
No,
just
it does
doesn't
not
work.
work. And
So
nobody
so
wants to have their
Yeah.
house. Nobody wants their
slow
town
down a
burned
little
down.
bit. Oh, hold
Oh,
on a sec.
go ahead, Troy.
Okay. So so Uranus seems to be very much more of a cerebral energy for the
Yes,
most part.
yes. Fuck yes. Yes.
So um uh do you be- uh do you believe that different chakras, I don't know if you have much chakra knowledge, are corresponding with different planets in that
I mean
way?
Yes, they
it
do correspond with different planets,
yeah.
but
And then
Uranus is not one of them. On the tree of
or
life, Uranus is considered like a false node. It's like the abyss. Um, it's called Dath, I think. So on
Doth or
well
Doth,
that's
yeah.
Dath.
on a
Yeah.
12
And
Sephiroth or a
what?
10 that's on a
Doth.
10, yeah.
Yeah, that is the one that it's the abyss, and you've got to cross the abyss to get to the crown, to get to Kether, Um, if you're going up the middle pillar, and the abyss is difficult to cross because I think that at some level, um, Uranus is associated with the astral, like the astral plane, for lack of a better word. Some people call it 4D, you know. But I think that that's also what is associated with it, which is basically a realm that's full of ideas, a realm of dreams, basically, a realm that is populated by all the ideas that people have kind of had, especially the ones that have been fed with like a lot of belief. That's what gives things stronger reality in the astral. But anything that you can dream or think about can have reality in the astral. Um, if there's a god that you worship, for example, and there's a lot of other people that worship it, that gives it a ton of fucking juice in the astral.
Well, well, the thing is if, as far as I understand it, the planets are essentially associated with the different, essentially, dimensional frequency bands. So, the same way that our chakras are, because that's essentially how our universe is made. The thing is that we used to have 12 planets, but with we had basically one or two planets get destroyed, which are now our asteroid belt, you know, and then you have Nibiru, which is now on an elliptical orbit, and that's where your 12 planets are, and supposedly another interesting thing. I don't know how this affects astrology, but all of the poles used to all face the same, face upright. But now how most of them are at various tilts, and that's because, as far as I understand it, like when they blew up a couple planets and shit like that, it shifted some stuff off tilt.
Yeah. No, no, no. That's some fascinating shit. I mean, I would say Nibiru probably does exist. I don't know. Because there are fucking planets out there that we have no fucking. I mean, we're just discovering in the past decade or two, like small bodies outside of
Yeah.
Pluto's orbit. So,
Yeah.
like, I give a lot of credence to the idea that there is a giant or like a larger planet out there that we just haven't seen because we're talking about. I mean, astronomy is great, blah blah, blah, it has its purposes. I'm not like anti that, but like it can't fucking know everything yet. Like give it like 20 more years and maybe we'll fucking be able to like actually find Nibiru. Because you're right, there is a lot of wonkiness with, like, you're right about the asteroid belts. I mean, obviously the inner asteroid belt was a planet that got blown up, and then even like the Kuiper belt was probably a planet that got blown up, and that's the one outside of Pluto, or that Pluto's in. And
Yeah.
like
Yep.
and so yeah, there are small bodies out there, and they have their orbits are fucking wonky as shit, and like they have super like elongated orbits. They're like tilted like crazy, so something's fucking with them. And like, like the skeptical scientific minded person might be like, oh well, they're just rocks that are out there that are just fucking got caught in the sun's gravity. But like, I don't. I'm with you, Troy. Like, I think there is, and yes, to make your point, and maybe symbolically, then, because if we want to then get into the whole idea of like, humanity was more perfect than we are now. Perfect. I use that word, like, not
Yeah.
literally, but like, and we had a more balanced, our energy fields, our chakras, all that shit was more balanced, we were better. But we've fallen, not to use a biblical word, but like we've fallen, whether you want to talk about like we've gone through, like the idea of going from the golden age to the silver age, the
Kali
bronze.
Yuga. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, whatever.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of no, for sure. I totally agree with you.
And so
Yeah,
like, as those planets got destroyed, it like symbolically threw off our shit, our
well,
our energetic shit.
definitely. Well, as far
Yeah.
as I understand, is that like we're directly connected to the like our energy grids in our body are connected to the energy grids around us, including the planet, and
Yeah.
our planet is connected to the solar system and all the other planets too.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if we're connected to the planets in, and like Uranus, because I was looking at a couple things and they were saying that it comes into the third eye, but you also have two other chakras that intersect. in through your third eye. So you actually have three chakras intersecting through your third eye.
Huh.
Um, yeah, on
Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, or what? What are we talking about?
I don't know exactly how those line up. I'd have to go check it. I
Yeah,
have to go double check. I always forget the numbers
If you
on
give me
those.
a
It's
second,
I
I have
think
a book of chakras. I'll be right back.
yeah,
it's like
no,
10.
that
It's like
I'm
10 and
curious.
11. I just need to look at it real quick.
No, no, I'm
But
curious. I'm genuinely curious because like it'd be wild if it all syncs up in a way because like in astrology that does kind of line up with like again anything outside of Saturn has to do with like yeah anything like the chakras that are above starting with the third eye the one that's right above the head like these ones that are like out there connected to like larger broader shit like I don't know the chakras that well but like I know there's ones where it's like
oh,
you
I
have
know him. I know him. I know him like you know the planets.
no perfect and I think there's a correlation I just don't know exactly
Well,
what it is.
I know the base seven a lot more. The other ones connect to different stuff. Let me
Yeah, no. And it's interesting because there's like a base seven planets too, planets, including the moon and sun. But like there's like a base, and then there's like the ones that are there's more than just that. So I think that's fascinating.
well, sweet. Hey, let's take a break real quick.
Yep. Do it.
Um,
Race yeah. Break. I gotta
yeah,
piss like
but
a racehorse,
y-
so perfect.
yeah, and I'm gonna go pull up a couple charts real quick.
Please, and if you want, I can share your screen and I would love to get into this because I think that's just fascinating stuff. So yeah, I want to learn more about this myself. So uh time out.
You timing out?
Just
Oh,
I
we're
have to
we're
pee real
just taking a
quick.
break real quick.
I just gotta
Um,
pee. I gotta pee. Yep.
yeah, I know a lot about chakras though. Double
Hmm.
fisting and double twisting.
Planetary chakras. Hmm. Unfortunately, it did not say the planets in this one. I thought it might. Hmm.
Both of you guys are reading. I see that.
Well, I'm just reading about the chakras. I could not find the planets associated with.
Yeah.
So, but I could
I would
find
say,
elements. There's
well, oh, go ahead.
elements.
But I would say that it's not one to one necessarily, but it's we could discuss what we think is because I don't think that like it's hard because it's like they're two different things, but they also do correlate because there's not like a separation between them, if that makes sense. So it's
Yeah.
like there's value in understanding the chakras, there's value in understanding the planets, which are just parts of us. The chakras are parts of us, but like and there's correlation and we can talk about those correlations. We can talk about like those relations, like, okay, this chakra makes sense for like, I mean, obviously, like we talk about the lower chakras, like we can go, okay, the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the bait, like, you know, the
Yeah.
like those are more obvious, but when we're talking about like the chakras, like with the third eye going
The
up,
brow.
yeah,
Well,
like
third eye is your sixth chakra,
Yep.
and then
Then crown.
and then your seventh is where you connect out and with your essentially the rest of your energy column. Your energy column goes up. So that's your seven, and then 8 and 9 are basically crossed, both going through your pineal gland. Well, it's actually your thymus and your thalamus, but it's still
that's here. I think the
oh yeah,
thalamus, the
that's right.
thalamus.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
No, you're good.
Eight's down here, which is essentially like as some people would say, your higher heart.
Yeah,
You
the
know?
thalamus gland. Yeah.
Yeah, which is the eighth. Yeah, sorry. I always get these
No,
couple numbers confused.
no. You make a really good point, though. I just wanted to. I've always heard and always kind of thought that the chakras correlate to our hormonal. I think, and this gets into a whole nother conversation, but I think our hormonal glands are far more important than we give them credit for. That's a whole fucking other
Oh yeah.
conversation. Yeah, but like,
Wait. I
but
got
Well,
it.
like,
but our
I got
hormones are
the
literally our
associated one.
emotions, and our emotions are exactly
yeah,
how we feel energy through our body.
yes,
So our
exactly.
hormones are exactly the physical manifestation of the energy going through our body, of how we interpret it, or
Yeah.
how our body can interpret it, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, absolutely. And like all those glands, like that's where, you know, taking medications, for example, stunts your hormonal gland. Anyways, don't get me started on that shit. Anyways, Mike, what do you got?
So we got the base, right? The color is red. The element is earth.
Okay.
Body sense is smell. The endocrine gland is testes and ovaries. So that's your
Yeah.
base.
Yeah.
The sacral is orange. Element is water. Body sense is taste. Endocrine gland is adrenals. It's kind of
Nope.
interesting.
No.
Solar plexus or manipura. Yellow color. Fire element. Totally makes sense.
And let me just add
Yeah.
on real quick.
Yeah.
This says root chakra is Saturn.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sacral chakra, which is the second
Venus?
chakra, is Mars.
Oh,
Wait, let's talk this out because I think let's talk it out for the viewer because I
yes.
think this is all really interesting stuff and like we're figuring this out, but let's talk it out for the viewer as well.
I know somebody's watching this and be like, "You guys are idiots."
Well,
Come
no,
on.
and
fine.
let them comment, like,
comment and tell
subscribe.
us how we're
Yeah,
idiots,
yeah. And also like and
or
subscribe.
we'll have you as a guest, and please tell us how we
Yeah,
can
you
do
can tell
better.
us
No,
way more.
but let's talk it out. So using both of what you guys are saying, let's back it up. Mike, go back to the first chakra again. Tell us. So Earth, right?
Earth, which connects to Saturn. That makes sense.
That works.
Saturn.
That works. And what was the
color is red though, which connects more with Mars, right?
okay? Interesting. But that also connects to sexual. I mean, if we're talking, is that like connected to the sexual
yeah,
chakra?
it's connected to the testes and ovaries.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is the basis of life. You know, if you really think about it, it's what keeps us rooted in the material world. We bring new people into the material world with our testes and ovaries.
Yes,
it's great.
And it's, I mean, you know, if that creates testosterone in men and, you know, estrogen in women,
well,
that's
also the bottom of where we experience our energy column, even though our 12th chakra is right below our feet.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to.
No,
yeah,
but
I don't
hold
think
on,
we even need. We should just stick with the 7. for
Well,
now.
hold on.
12 is too much.
Well, you're in my world. We don't get to only talk about stuff you're comfortable with.
Well, let's
Okay.
combine worlds. Let's
Well,
worlds
no,
collide.
no, but this is my point. Is that the thing is that your root chakra is where you start to embody, and actually pull in the etheric energy. You know, because it's always coming up through your energy column and out the top, and then stuff is coming from, like outside, like essentially like planet energy, different stuff from outside the planet that's coming into the earth comes in
Jeez.
through you to the earth, the same way that stuff from the earth is coming up through you out to the planets. So
Okay.
there's an energy exchange going on, and our chakras are the nodes of where they're picking up these different dimensional bands.
Okay.
Yes.
So
And
again, the base
so
chakra relates to Earth, then, right? Would
it,
you agree with
it's
that?
yeah, it's much more centered, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No.
would
Okay. I
Well, I mean, technically, your 13th chakra is Earth center. It is the core of,
Yeah.
and so all
Crystal
of us
core.
have the same 13th chakra,
okay.
which is also very interesting number why 13 is also a sacred number in different ways.
Yeah.
Completion.
I mean, you have the 12 apostles and Jesus. Let's let's get there. So, starting with the first. No, no, no. Let's go.
We're
No,
We're
there.
gonna
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. You're just
no,
not
no,
laughing.
no, no. I'm not offended. Let's get there. Let's. We're getting into like broad.
I hope.
Let's
Let's talk
let's
and
parse
work
it
the
out.
go.
Yeah, exactly. Let's parse it out. I mean, I want to learn. I want to parse it out. I want to fucking. So, first chakra, Earth grounds us into the Earth. What Troy was saying, the energy coming from the Earth, related to Earth signs, Saturn, as Mike was saying, but also interestingly enough,
You look like a beat poet when you were saying that. I'm just loving it.
interestingly enough,
It was cool. It was cool. The hand
um,
motions were amazing.
I,
Precious.
I do that. I talk with my hands, so let's do that.
Flip that shit.
Yeah. um, so okay, let's go on the next track. The second chakra, Mike, and then Troy. So Mike, what does the book say?
Sacral is Svadhisthana, maybe.
Okay.
It's orange.
Okay.
It is water. It connects
Water.
with taste and the adrenals. And the
Okay.
adrenals make sense with Mars, actually. Like totally makes
Yeah.
sense with Mars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Water. So sacral that's like in our, is that like the gut feeling? Like when we have like a gut reaction, a gut feeling? I'm asking.
Well, yeah, it's so you keep in mind that also in all of your chakra places, we essentially have lots of nerve endings and that are connecting into what are um what am I trying to say? Neurotransmitters. So we have there's slightly different ones than in the brain, but we literally have abilities to think and communicate throughout our body, and there's physical manifestations in those areas. And so yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of connection to the earth there, because essentially your root chakra is very much about my body, my presence in the world, my feet on the ground, where
Okay.
your sacral chakra is basically it's about connecting with other people and being vulnerable, because you're
Okay.
not going to expose your belly to anybody.
Okay.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, no,
It's like
totally.
that's
Can't
community,
can't
that's
cancer.
family, that's
Cancer.
emotion.
Cancer.
It's also a lot of creation. It's also like intimate
Cancer.
love, passion kind
Maybe
of stuff.
maybe yeah, no. This okay, that's really good insight. So
But
I was
also it
I
goes into security, because the thing is that
cancer.
there's emotion. So the thing is there's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And
Yeah.
so the same thing is that the bottom you have your physical stuff, and that's more or less your root chakra. And then
Yeah.
you have security, which comes much more into your second chakra there.
Okay. So we have a basis in Earth. It sounds like Saturn, if we want to say Capricorn or whatever. I mean, we're not going to get into it. It doesn't follow. I would argue that it doesn't follow the typical like the one sign after another, one planet after another. So let's
Yeah.
dismiss that idea. The base, Earth, Saturn, you know, the Earth signs, kind of getting grounded in who you are, energy coming into yourself. The next would obviously be water, as Mike said, which makes sense. And it's, about community, about how you feel, feeling safe, feeling secure, but also
Hmm.
connecting to people. I would say, the sign of Cancer is a good one, but also, you know, it's not just cancer. It's like, it could be, you know, I mean, the adrenals obviously are Mars, but then the kidneys are Libra. Like if and the adrenals sit on top of the kidneys. So, I mean, so just okay. So we're going from like grounded Earth to water, and maybe even also not Pisces necessarily, but like Scorpio, Cancer. Connect. I mean, Scorpio is about connecting to other people on like a deeper level, intimate level. Like maybe there's some influence there. What? So then the next one would be, I'm assuming
Wait, wait,
fire.
wait. One more
Nope.
thing.
Please, yes.
So the two
Jump in.
bottom ones, think about the two bottom, the first two chakras.
Yeah.
It's the malefics, right? So it's Saturn and then Mars, which I think is probably important to think about.
Yeah.
So if you're just on those lower chakra levels, if you're
Ah.
blocked down there, you're going to be more of a malefic influence. And the lower you are blocked on the column, because people get blocked all the time, man. Like
Oh yeah. Oh
chakras
Oh
get
yeah.
yeah.
blocked, they get
Oh yeah.
fogged up, they get gummed up. Um, the more likely you are to be being malefic in the world. You know that, if that makes sense. If
Oh
you're
yeah.
blocked in your lower self all the time, not able to bring it up higher into the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
able to actually be a very good force in the world.
Yes.
Um,
Oh fuck yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's the thing that just stuck out to me, is the fact that
No.
the two bottoms are the malefics. So
Oh,
what's
absolutely. No, no, no. That's perfect. And yeah, like staying stuck in materialism, or
yeah,
staying
or
stuck in material.
sexual issues, for example?
Yeah, exactly. Or staying stuck in this feeling of like needing to control and or like whatever, and then
Uh-huh.
also then the next level of like overpower, trying to overpower people, but not in like a manipulative way, just being like I'm dominant, I'm the best, and so yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. No, that's absolutely. Is this
Hey,
is this?
Maslow.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but basically, yeah, love and belonging would basically become into like self-actualization, because part of this is also like belonging ends up being more of willpower rather than heart-centered. So that's more of your third chakra, your solar plexus, which is your will center, you know?
Yeah.
That's where you're like you're just going to push and make it done. That's when you're white knuckling something and you're just like you're just getting this done no matter what. That's
Yeah,
mind
It's
over matter.
powerful.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, for
And
sure.
there's
It's
value.
power, but the thing is that yeah, it has its limitations and it's very finite. You know what I'm saying? But it has its own sense of power. But part of that is also where is my place in the hierarchy and in the structure of society? Because the thing is that there's the emotional sense of where I am in society, but then there's also the practical sense of where I am in society, because part of our ego is always worried about um like how are my needs getting met, and then part of that is all the other stuff like structure and safety. So it's like if I know that like I have a certain amount of hierarchy, that means I know that I have people at command, that that I'm not going to be alone if I have to come across a struggle, that I'll have safety in numbers, and I know that we'll be able to coordinate or work together or whatever. There's
Yeah.
part of that thing that is just a psychological aspect of how our bodies work, you know,
Oh yeah.
and that we get used to, but and some people take for granted in today's society, which I think kind of comes back to like I think another thing is that like so many people today, they take for granted of like how fragile like society is right now, you know that like it like a lot of people only recently in the last like few years, like a person's lifetime did we come to all of these wonderful things here. And but yet a lot of people want to throw away a lot of the things of the past that got us here, thinking and that they can easily do better, you know? And um
No, you're I mean, you're coming full circle with our conversation about Uranus earlier. So yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I picking up what you're putting down because it's like, yeah, it's you know, the both are important. Obviously, I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, everything is good. I'm just saying, like, yeah, you need to take care of these things. You need to, but when we overdo them, or when we get stuck in them, or when we have like blockages, as Mike was saying, with those areas of our life, yeah, we can we can overdo it, and our society is ruled by the first two chakras in a way. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I feel like we're ruled by our desire for security, safety, material comfort, and again, also with the
but,
Maslow's
but
hierarchy of
willpower.
needs. Yeah, yeah. Like it's just
But the
like
willpower
might
is them
might is right.
manipulating,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
Okay.
But it's because they're in a place of willpower. They keep everybody in a place of fear, which is going to keep people in their lower two chakras, like you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
So
Exactly.
they're controlling us with basically that, and that comes down to a lot of the also comes into the uh uh love and fear stuff, because when you get past that, it's power versus force. It's the
Yeah.
low. It's it, I mean, it's just once you break out of that, once you start to break into love, because the willpower can't control you. Once you're into
Okay.
that fourth chakra, you know what I'm saying?
Well, let
You're connecting, you're activating, a higher place, so that you're not allowing. Well, it essentially it gives you purpose, it gives you principles, and with that comes truth. That you care
yeah,
more about the truth, and also with that, it comes that thing where, like I was saying, like, oh, I can't white knuckle this shit forever. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
And so it's like, and so
So
part of that is coming to the truth that, like, oh, I actually need solutions. I need these things outside of myself that I need to align with. It's that sense of humility and helping us to let ourselves go and like admit our finite nature, so that we can actually work with our good aspects and not beat ourselves up about our, the places that we can't, the things we can't do.
no, totally. Let's build to that because I think that's let's okay. So we've talked about the first two chakras, and exactly your point. It's like, yeah, we get trapped there, we get stuck there. So what's so now it's these are the things to focus on. Like that's the next lesson. Like the next step is like, okay, these are the things to focus on in oneself to build these areas. So what is the next chakra? Let's talk about that. So Mike, what
The
is the next
Fourth.
chakra?
heart chakra.
Okay.
Oh
Exactly. Troy,
yeah,
to make your point, Troy, this is perfect because okay, the heart chakra. Let's go. What is that
it's
about?
green or pink. It associated with the element air. Body senses touch, and endocrine gland is thymus.
Interesting that it's associated with air. Let's
It, I think it's because love is a choice.
okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Um,
It's a conscious choice. That's
yeah,
true.
it's a conscious choice, and I think but I mean, there's probably more to it, but
Interesting.
there is,
is that the that's the heart chakra,
yeah,
correct?
it's the heart chakra.
I've
The
always seen
physical
yeah.
action is circulation. The mental action is passion. The spiritual action is devotion.
Interesting. That's all Aquarius stuff. So just if we're going to relate it to it, so circulation is ruled by Aquarius. The idea that it's an air chakra is ruled by, that makes sense for Aquarius. I'm not saying it's solely Aquarius. I'm just saying for, to create parallel understanding, basically. That's why I'm bringing up the astrology and the science.
Makes sense.
Like it's not solely Aquarius, but like but it's interesting because Aquarius, one wouldn't go, oh, that's about the heart. But like, so it's interesting because one would go, oh, well, heart chakra, Leo, cliche, basic shit. But maybe there's something to it where like the heart, I mean, if you, to love, to have an open heart to other people, you, in a way, you do have to sacrifice yourself, because then at that point you're, and again, then we can go to Libra, because it's like a turning point of the self versus the other.
Yep.
And again, another air sign. It's like you're transitioning from focusing on, well, my needs, my, the lower chakras, my needs, my wants, like what my basic needs, like, might makes right, like this idea of like, well, I'm gonna just get what I need and satisfy my own base desires, my own base needs, to, well, okay, if I open myself up to others, what is that in, there's probably, you probably pull in more energy as you open up your heart, because like, okay, this is kind of vulnerable, but like, have you guys ever like been in a place where you're like, you're frustrated with someone or angry at someone, and then all of a sudden you using your
Never,
mind, or what?
Nick. I've never been mad at you.
Yeah, exactly, but you use your mind. I know it's easy to be mad at me. You use your mind to basically go, well, what if I change the way I feel, and then you all of a sudden all of the energy just goes and it's gone, like all of this
Yep.
tension, all of this frustration, all of this anger, all of this, whatever the feeling is, if you just shift mentally and emotionally, you can like it, you just drop it, and then all of a sudden, then you feel lighter, and you feel like there's this like
Yes.
weight that's been lifted off of you. Like, I think that's related to what we're talking about with that chakra, because it's like we can choose to hold that anger, and it like closes off our heart chakra, and it like
Yeah.
causes us to like, and then physically we might have heart problems, literally, or whatever. But like, or we could just let it all go, and like, not like in like a Pisces, like, Neptune, like just like a, oh well, everything is one. No, I'm talking like a very visceral, real feeling of like just going like, you know what, it's not worth it, just let it go. So I think maybe that's what we're talking about. I think that's why it's
Yeah.
maybe part of the air. Anyways, jump in whenever, please. I'm just kind of rambling, but like, I think there's something to that where it's like the heart chakra is, it feels like, because it's like the center of all
It's
the main.
central. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so powerful. And
Yeah,
it is like absolutely the most critical one to work on, I'd say,
yeah,
in your early phases of development, I guess. I remember one of the when I started learning about chakras, like way back in the day, when I was maybe more into them than I am now because I just use astrology. But when I was more
yeah,
into them, um, what I was one of my first spiritual intuitions was like the whole goal is to not be fully heart centered, not be fully mind centered, to bind those two somehow together, you know? And it always felt like such a difficult thing for me because I would pop from one to the other. And I had like weird feelings about the heart, in general. I was more mind centered when I was younger, always trying to develop that part and kind of leaving behind the human relationship thing.
yeah,
And I came to the realization that I needed to work on the heart, right? I needed to balance the heart with the head. And I felt like that was the key. Yeah, I think it's connected maybe to the hemispheres of the brain. I don't know exactly, but I felt like that was like the key thing for real balance and empowerment or self actualization for me
oh
at
yeah,
least.
yeah,
Um, and there's been moments, I mean, heart is difficult, right? Because it's like, Jesus. Uh, it is one of those places where we can take pretty big wounds and it takes a long time to kind of get over them, or to rebalance or to make it, if it the heart chakra, it's easy for it to be overactive, where it's kind of reaching for needly for everybody around them, and it's
yeah,
easy for it to be underactive, which is like stoic in ourselves, like we don't need any fucking other people,
yeah, oh yeah, oh
um,
yeah, oh yeah,
and those
Well,
those two things are like there. It will fuck your life up if it's unbalanced at all. I feel like
well,
um,
and
more
a
than
lot
other
of it
ones.
oh yeah,
is it's how do you regulate your energies? Do you regulate it up and down your energy columns? So with basically is where you have your autonomy, or are you always trying to go outward to regulate, you know? And so essentially a lot of the way that our society is built right now is they want us to be very outward regulating, very codependent, very avoidant or anxious, you know?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they want us to not be able to sit with our feelings.
Yeah.
And so it really comes down to we have to learn to sit with our feelings, and that's a huge thing, you know, that the overstimulus of is trying to pull us away from.
Yes.
And uh and and what I find most useful in the chakras is like is that I get to be able to essentially feel, you know, oh, I'm like I'm just feeling bad or whatever, and I can just like literally it's like okay, now let's start to have some body awareness. Where is that energy being caught up? Oh, okay, it's in this chakra area. Okay. Well, what in this realm is upsetting me right now? Oh, okay, and then I get to be able to work through that, because I know those areas. Same thing
Yep.
like if you pull a tarot card, it's the same thing. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Here, this is indicating the certain energy patterns. What is the context that would actually pull up these cards? You know? And so then, that that's and that kind of and I'm sure that's similar with the astrology stuff. Okay, what's the energies going through here and whatever? How does that apply? I mean, how excuse me,
I think
how does that, the energies coming into your environment and your life affect your experience?
I think astrology would be for sure. But I think astrology would be useful to where your blocks are likely to be or where you're more likely to be overactive or underactive. It would give you kind of the patterns
Yeah,
of what you would expect your major chakra problems to be. Obviously, they're going to change a lot with certain people, but it feels like some people are almost defined by their imbalances, because they really
especially
commit.
well in today's culture it is because when you get stuck in a fear dynamic and everything's a survival thing, and especially when you don't understand what love is, so everything is a power dynamic, and so it's uh and especially when you also see yourself as social constructionist, where
Yeah,
basically you are what your environment makes you to be.
yeah,
So it basically takes it okay, I am not to blame for my problems. My environment is just, whether that be astrology, whether that be the environment, society, the house I'm born into, the body I'm born into. And don't get me wrong, there's various degrees of truth to this. But it's when you say that, like, oh, okay, therefore, you know, I don't have to try because, I got given a bad hand, this game sucks, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, we we came into these bodies to play the hand we were dealt, you know and part of the thing is that, yeah, we don't always get the hand we intended when we came in, but we certainly have some say when we're choosing our place in here.
yes.
And yeah, and
I feel like we chose our hand almost completely, to be honest. Like I feel like we might not like it while we're here, but I think we chose the time and place, the general opportunities of life, the challenges to a certain extent. I think that's
well,
all chosen
I
to a
I
certain
well,
extent.
like, I no, I agree with you for the most part, but it's also going to be different with different people because certain people are going to have certain sense of randomizations in there. But also in the same thing is that, like let's just be honest, is like the energy grids on this planet are not 100%. So it's just like, not everything is going to go exactly as you intend it to be. And that's part of what we realize, that when we came into this, hey, you know what? This is your thing, but you know what? There's always little asterisks. There's always fine print. There's always little things going on, and that's the nuance of life.
Yeah,
But that's also like, we signed up realizing that, hey, when we go in there, you know,
it's chaotic.
there
Shit
there's
happens.
there's other stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? You're not the only player on the board, and you still have to fucking play your hand. you know? And we're not here to win the game against other people. It's like we're all playing different games. Just because you look at the person next to you and they have more of these chips or that chips or whatever, and you get this certain kind of envy going, it's like you don't even know where they're going. You don't know how fast they're going or where their destination is, where they started from. You don't even know what game they're playing. Like, because everybody's game is different because we're all learning different lessons. We're all different people. We all have different objectives that make us happy, for one thing, but karma's all teaching us different lessons at the same time. Not to mention
Yeah.
all of our charts, are exactly the same as everybody else's. You know,
Fuck
everybody
no.
was, yeah, everybody was
Fuck
born in the
no.
same hospital at the same time, you know, and then
Well,
Even those people are different. So
sprinkled
yeah.
throughout time.
Yeah. 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 No. Yeah. And I mean, we can bounce off each other. I mean, it's not like a competition, but we can definitely, I mean, I would say there's something to the importance of the difference between us is and why we draw certain people into our lives, etc. Is like why it for a reason. I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to get like all metaphysical with that shit, but like,
How
we
dare you?
people come into our lives and they're different, and that difference simulates parts of us, our chart,
Yep.
and their chart, and that's where you can get into like you can
Oh
look at
yeah.
you
where's
know comparing charts together and stuff. But like, I think, yeah, it's stimulus. So I want to bring it back to chakras. I'm just
okay?
keeping it
Yep, yep, yep.
focused. So we've talked about the heart
Art,
chakra. What is
So
the
we're
next
on to the fifth
chakra?
one.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
the
throat,
throat chakra.
Yes.
the gluck
That's
gluck.
usually blue. And yeah, so that's generally your creation, your higher creation and expression center. Because generally that point you're past the point of love, so almost everything that's coming out of there is going to be a higher expression. Where it's like you do have expression and creation energy down in your second chakra. So there's also overlapping chakras because essentially like your chakras also go with the dimensional bands, so you essentially have 1 2 3 1 2 3 of the different universes. So essentially one two
I
three one
want
two
to
three
swing from a chandelier. Sorry. One,
what
two, three.
I'm just
I
saying.
wanna 1 2 3 from
I'm
the
just saying
chandelier.
you have
You
your
know,
first
yeah.
three
Thank
chakras.
you, thank you. One, two, three.
All right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Troy. You sang a lyric from a song, and I had to. Anyways.
I had to
How
Yes.
dare you?
finish
I've
it.
never done that before.
No,
So,
I know. I know.
all right. Uh,
1 2 3. 1 2 3.
so basically, when you're starting with your fourth chakra, that's when you're essentially starting to get into the when we're starting to connect with the astral plane.
Yeah.
That's when we're connecting outside of our body. So then you have your second chakra and your fifth chakra you harmonize those to essentially create from higher perspective. But you can also have nice raunchy songs from down below too,
For sure.
Hey.
coming out of your second chakra.
Like that one
Hey.
song.
Yeah,
You
like
know the
all of them.
one. What? Which one?
Yeah, brown chicken, brown cow,
Ham chicken
brown
pig?
chicken, brown cow.
Well, I mean, this kind of connects with Freud a little bit, where you can sublimate your sexual energy, so sacral energy, and you can sublimate it for creative purposes, right? You can utilize your lower chakral energy for creative pursuit instead of just
Yep,
fucking all the time.
yep,
You still fuck some of the time, but I think you need some of that energy for other pursuits.
for sure. Well, and that's the whole thing of basically having hypothetically or all of your chakras activated and oriented in a good direction, essentially. Um, yeah,
So I fuck up with the throat chakra all the time. So this is something that I have recognized in my life, and it's usually in back in the day. It used to be more from underactive. Like I wouldn't say things when I should have said them, right? Um, and nowadays it's more like speaking too quick sometimes and harming others accidentally through quick. quick
Well,
action, quick creation.
Well, the key thing is that like the throat chakra and your second chakra are both expression oriented. So if you're good, and that's the key thing is like if you're properly orienting in with the community and your heart, then you're communicating. Then you're being more respectful, and
Wait,
so
wait, wait,
that's
wait.
so
Oh,
like whenever I communicate with people, I make sure that I'm always activating my heart and activating my second chakra and my fifth. So basically 2, 4, and 5, you know?
okay, okay.
But
So
I
basically
don't always, because
you're
I sometimes take it straight down from the top and put it out, and I don't always think about it from the lower levels, you know?
wait,
well
okay.
that and that's what I'm saying is that some people need that like full-bodied expression, and if you're not grounding it in your body, it
Can't hear
comes
it.
off weird. It comes off as almost manipulative to them because they can't pick up
Uh,
those higher frequencies. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but
no, no, no. That makes
it's
sense.
not the way that they're oriented because we all have blockages.
Okay,
So it's just
what is no, no, no. That's fucking brilliant. And the idea connecting it to the second. So like, um, okay, what is the fifth chakra in Mike in your book? Is it Earth? Is it? Are we going back to Earth? What is
No,
it?
no, it's etheric or akashic.
God damn it. Okay.
Yep. It is
That
not in the traditionals.
fuck that
Um,
that
it's
just throws a
beginning to
wrench.
connect with the etheric plane,
Gotcha, gotcha.
which I'm
Now,
not sure the difference between the etheric and the astral, and I'm going to try to figure that out. But
yeah.
etheric
well,
feels
it's
higher than astral to me, but I'm not
well,
sure.
well, I don't know. I'm still learning a bit about this, and some people say etheric as a kind of a generic term, but I know that like ether is something that's like they have like there's been free technology, energy technology. It's basically a natural force that's coming like we're saying into the planet and out of the planet. It's a natural circulating energy, and people in times of past learn to harness it for various things, and that's what a lot of the Tartarian, you know, supposedly excuse me, the Tartarian civilization was all about. We talked about it once a little bit.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, no. I mean, you're just you're bringing it all home. Fucking let's
This
combine
is my
everything.
brain. This is where
No,
I live.
let's go. Let's go. Okay. So, Nikki wants to like try to summarize for the viewer. So we have the base, our needs, the second like physical needs. The second chakra is our like more emotional and or non-physical but base level needs at the same time.
Like
Third,
society, family.
yeah, like emotional
Sex,
needs, connect community needs, like base. Third chakra is that the heart or did we miss one?
power. No, that's the solar plexus.
Okay,
Solar
so
plexus.
yeah, gotcha. So power, a need for a need for feeling, and in the positives can be like a feeling of like I am awesome, like fuck yeah. Third
Yeah,
or fourth,
But
fourth,
also like building and creating. Like that's
fuck yeah,
also
yeah,
the
fuck
man
yeah.
of I'm gonna go build that thing. I'm gonna go get that thing done. I'm
fuck
gonna
yeah.
go but it's also I'm gonna go Minecraft that person.
Get that thing done. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fourth chakra is like okay, now we're at the level of where okay, we've got our all of our base. We no, enough about me. Let's transition over to oh wow, there's other people. I'm gonna connect to them on a like an emotional level, but also on a mental level. Like it's just opening the self up to like other. Okay, I mean
Yes.
I'm simplifying things, so
On
just
a deeper level, yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Then
There's yeah,
because you can open yourself up to other people, I guess, even at the lower chakras.
yeah.
But I think that the heart chakra is about seeing somebody as a another expression of God to a certain
Okay,
extent. Like, does that
gotcha.
make
100%.
Yeah,
sense?
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
The namaste,
Yes.
the God in
I
me acknowledge.
recognize the God in you or whatever. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? So like, and then the fifth chakra is like, well, okay, I can recognize the God in you and the God in me. Now I want to communicate to
Yes.
that God or communicate my high. We're starting to get into like the higher self. Again, I use that in quotes because that
Well,
sounds very judgy, but
it's expressing your higher
yeah,
divine intentions essentially.
gotcha.
You know, and then with that leads into the sixth chakra, which
Perfect.
comes into essentially is like your higher will, but your higher will doesn't do things via action. It does things via essentially aligning with the universe, and that means like also having good ideas, which I guess brings us back to Saturn. Um which I saw something saying Saturn and Jupiter both respond to
That works.
uh third eye center or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's very cerebral in that sense, you know.
Okay. Okay.
But
No.
you know,
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's
Sorry.
also the
but you
vision place,
yeah,
like the
well,
visions kind of place.
exactly. Well, and literally, according to a lot of science and whatever, is that your third eye is your pineal gland. Your pineal gland literally connects or your eyes literally go back and connect with your pineal gland. So they're
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
um
It's the
uh
third eye. That's what it
yeah,
is. Yeah.
so when you have visions, your pineal gland is supposedly one of the primary things actually creating visions in there, and when you actually have those different vortices, because each chakra is a vortice, and you have your different chakras, you have your sixth, and your eighth or your ninth. I can't remember. Your excuse me. You have your sixth, your seventh, and your ninth crossing through that uh, through your head. You basically have three vortices. So, and the thing is that a holographic, all of our universe is essentially each dimensional band is a different frequency at 90 degrees from each other. So this when you have the same thing in going through our skulls, we have essentially three chakras all 90 degrees from each other offset, so that right in our pineal gland area, so that we can align those, and that's how we can essentially like do visions and do all astral projecting, and that's essentially like one way of how we connect with our higher level consciousness, because in a certain way we're like a remote controlled device from our consciousness far away, the same way that our fingers are kind of being controlled by our brain.
Yeah. Well, I feel
Yep.
like the third eye also allows you to see things as they really are, beyond surface level, right? It's like gives you vision into how things really are. I think it kind of gets into prediction of how things are going to happen, or connecting to it will give you insight and intuition. I would say, like that's
Yep.
like the main way that it works is through intuition. Um, Luckily, because I'm scared of all that stuff, I drank a lot of fluoridated water when I was young, and I calcified the shit out of this. So luckily, I can't visualize, you know, as good as I should.
Yeah.
Um, so thank you, government, for keeping me from being able to see through your bullshit for so many years. That's honestly what
Hey.
I feel like the calcifying of the pineal gland was all about, and it
Yep.
was on purpose.
Yep.
And it's my
Yep.
pineal gland telling me that, so I'm pretty sure it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
RFK
Yeah.
is gonna get rid of the fluoride, so maybe in 20 years we'll be fine. We'll be old men and we'll be like, ooh, we have visions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I just remember I had it a lot when I was young. And
Yeah.
I've been pretty good at not having fluoridated water for a long time. And in fact, in Portland, Oregon, this is a
Yeah.
sidetrack, but I'm just going to sidetrack for a little bit. There was a vote to whether to keep the fluoride in the water in Portland and or to add it to it. I forget what it was exactly, but we voted against it as a city, which for all the faults of Portland, at least they did that, the
No,
Yeah.
hippies.
that's
Yeah,
impressive.
that's pretty impressive. That's like
The
Yeah.
hippies,
doesn't
the
get done.
yuppies, and the yippies, they
They
all
all
came
work together.
together. They all came
Yeah.
together on one issue.
And it
Good.
saved our pineal glands.
That's not a bad
Yeah.
issue I mean, fuck it. That's worth it. So I
Yep.
dig it.
Well, just to keep things on a roll, then you have
Yes.
your seventh, which is generally your crown chakra. And so
Perfect.
and so that is basically all your other chakras are essentially connecting from the front half of your body to the back half of your body. And there's a lot of we'll keep it simple. And then so in the your seventh one is going up and down. And it's
Okay.
so the same way that your bottom chakra is taking in energy from your central energy column from down below from earth center, and but it's projecting it outward, and then up here it's taking it and bringing it inward, but also connecting you upward, you know
Oh.
one reason posture is so important. It's really easy to see if somebody's hunching over or whatever, it's just like it's the same way that like you can tell people's like and like you don't necessarily have to read auras to basically be able to see people's body posture to know like how is it affecting the energy moving through their body, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Um
Now,
and so,
oh,
yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, just is that also tied to which chakra? So we talked. I mean, maybe it's the sixth. Though maybe I'm just, but like visions, and I mean, say like you get like a flash of insight. Just I'm bringing
I
it back
think
home to
crown
Six and
Uranus.
seven.
chakra is
Okay.
the flash. Crown
Okay.
chakra is the reception of the thing from out. It's not even from outside, but it's like from further up in the column. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you've
It's
got a
how we
part of
receive it.
you that's already there, right? Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
beyond time, hanging out. Like you got that part of you, and that part of you can send down like messages
Yeah.
to this part of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily from something outside of us. It's just we're not really all that we are, Like
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
we're just like this is just our avatar
Well,
for this particular game.
the
Oh
way
yeah.
the way I, the way I like it, or the way I've heard it explained, that's pretty simple, is that we were non-physical energy before we became physical energy. But when we became physical energy, part of us stayed as non-physical energy. So we're both still non-physical energy and physical energy at the same time.
Uh,
And our
I
higher
think
self is that non-physical energy that we're still connected with. And that,
and we
well,
identify
part
with the physical.
part of me just connects to the fact that time as we know it is not real. Like it is real for us because
exactly.
we're living through it. So it feels real. But time, a lot of science is saying, some people are saying that time isn't even it's a construct. There is no real time.
It's
It's
how
just we have to
consciousness.
as a human or as a embodied person, we have to experience it because that's the only way you can do embodied people.
Yep.
Um, that's pretty much how it works. Like, which is crazy. It's crazy. When do we get out of this shit? I don't want to get out of it the normal way. I want to get out of the special way with a cheat code with all my friends. So we're gonna do that. Let's do
No,
Well,
it.
that gets into an ascension talk, but that's like a whole nother conversation.
yeah.
Yeah, we're not
No,
getting
no.
into it tonight.
No. We're wrapping up. Let's
Long story
wrap
short
it
with
up, boys.
ascension is that you're essentially going to, cuz you have matter. Hold on.
Oh,
Like this is
no,
just
I'm here. I'm here.
this is like 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
I'm here.
Not even. Okay, so you have matter like this, and you have
Yeah.
the electron spinning around. And essentially what you are able to do is that you're able to essentially shift change from doing this into being electromagnetic. And when you do
Mhm.
that, you can change your essentially your physical body into, as we understand it, to be energy, and then we can transmit ourselves essentially through stargates, and then that allows us to be able to essentially go travel to other planets, other dimensions. But
What?
that requires us, hold on, to be able to essentially go through these karmic journeys and be able to essentially learn to be better people, because that essentially that that emotional and moral fortification of our character is what allows us to physically be able to handle those higher dimensional frequencies coming through our body.
Yes. It's all just a long
Yes.
development wheel.
Oh,
That doesn't
yes.
even necessarily matter that much, but it is really fun from what I've heard. In the aftermath of this life, we do tease each other about the shitty things that we did, and we get to brag about the cool things that we did.
We
So
get to laugh about
this
it later.
this game is important because after it's over, we get to talk shit to each other about it, and that's very fun in those higher levels. And I mean that in the you can still talk shit at the higher levels. I'm sure of it. I've felt it. I've seen it happen. So talking shit is not necessarily an evil act from
Yeah.
what I would guess from that because we don't really have the ego that gets hit by it as much and it's more fun afterwards.
But there's also not as much shit behind it either.
And no, there's
So
not as much
yeah,
heat. It's more
yeah,
just like
yeah, yeah,
it's more just like a bunch of old friends that know each other too
yeah.
well and they just are talking, talking
Okay, I
talking
get it.
trash.
Like,
I get it.
hey,
So
I get
I
it.
remember I
it's like, wow,
remember
you
you
really
back.
fucked that one up, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I dig that. I dig it. I get it. It's
So
like,
just
So,
remember, after we die, all the fat girls that you fuck, you have to talk to all your friends about it, and
all
nothing
right,
is secret
speaking of
anymore.
Uranus,
Nothing's secret anymore.
how much of this episode, like, because we went a little off the tracks, like, how much do you
oh,
think
we're good.
lined up with Uranus? Were we like
All of it. All of
etheric
it.
and just like get out there and just be like, hey, you know what, we're gonna take all these random thoughts and we're just gonna make them work because we're gonna make everything better and figure it all right out on the fly.
Yeah.
No, blah 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 blah. Summed it up.
Well,
Look at that.
great
Bringing it.
night.
Yeah, bringing it
Great
back
show,
home.
guys.
Yeah, exactly. No, 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 no. Troy was on it. That is some Uranus shit. You know, sometimes it goes all off in these fucking, but then it comes back around and you're like, oh, insight. Boom. Different insight. So Uranus.
Clock on the
Well, I mean,
wall.
I'm just
Red
checking, making
buttons are
sure that like I
fastened.
got like you guys were good teachers. You were thinking ahead the whole time, and you set
Mm-hmm.
up this entire like discussion just to help me, be like, hey, we're gonna go talk about a bunch of random stuff, and hey, let's just start just talking about chakras. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was great.
That's
I mean,
yeah.
what that was that
chakras, energy work. I think like the
nailed
Pluto
it.
and Aquarius age, the Uranian flavor of that is going to be a lot of people are going to be working on their shit, like their blocks. Um, I've been hearing that this era is all about like not just all of our narratives, all the human narratives, trying to find some conclusion, some closure, but like literally millions of years and all these other fucking players that have been part of this whole solar system over the course of time.
Yeah.
All of these narratives are trying to close up right now. Um, all I know is that these next 4 years are going to be crazy, and we have the most Uranian president I think we've ever had because he's a 10th house Sun Uranus North Node conjunct, which is basically his mission is to be a change agent. His mission on Earth, because that's his sun and his North Node together, is to be himself, and himself is this super disruptive change agent that through what he says, because it's in Gemini, changes the world,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's kind of crazy. So we are actually under the rule to a certain extent of Uranus right now, a Uranian person. We've got a very Uranian president, and we're going to have that Uranian president for the first 4 years of Pluto and Aquarius.
It's
And with
perfect.
Uranus moving into Gemini, going towards a Uranus return for him. So, I mean, it's going to be crazy, dude. Get ready.
What?
Get
Well, I
ready.
guess since we're talking about Uranus, what does a Uranus return do, and how long is that?
Usually you're dead, but I think it's 84 years, so I don't think he's gonna hit it in office. Maybe I would like to look at it. I think it's gonna get close. It'll get into his 10th house. Um,
Yep. Yep.
but a
Yep.
Uranus return is really kind of it's a the end of a very long cycle. It's often a big change that happens to the person, but it's usually a change that's more about getting ready for the next phase of life, which is not being alive. So it's like probably beyond our ken at this point, you know, like a Uranus return, a half return is usually like considered the it's 42, 41 about, and it's considered the midlife crisis, and that's where usually people trade up wives or get like sports cars or whatever, you know, or like cut their hair really short and you know, get an OnlyFans. I don't know what people do nowadays with their Uranus half returns, but the full one is supposed to be about like um learning kind of what your life was about, you know, like bunch of changes, comes back, you have better understanding of what all those changes led to, and then it's about releasing after that.
Oh, yeah.
If we lived longer than 120 at the very most, then we'd maybe have to worry more about the Uranus return. But because most people don't live even to 84, is there's not a ton of it's not a ton of extant research on it. You know what I'm saying?
Good to know. I guess one other follow-up question would be what does a Uranus retrograde do then?
uh, Brings up the Uranus stuff, the stuff that Uranus rules, whether it's in your own chart or in society,
Oh,
and inwardly directs it. You reflect on it, it shifts it, and then when it moves forward again, those new insights and the kind of the reflection that you've had, you then move forward. So it's like it's taking like two steps forward, one step back, two steps forward, one step back. In that step back, you are
Gaining
assessing.
perspective?
Yeah, exactly. You're assessing. So like those two steps forward, you're assessing, am I taking the right steps forward? And then you move forward again and you move forward. So it's like knowledge is not just, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's moving forward, stepping back. And this applies to every retrograde, but for Uranus and Saturn and oh yeah, by all means, go for it.
I'm not trying to interrupt you. I've just
No,
got
you're
the
fine.
Uranus
Go.
conjunct Uranus. So finish
Perfect.
off the retrograde, and then I'll tell you the
Yeah, yeah,
Uranus
yeah.
conjunct.
Well, no, yeah, exactly.
Oh,
And
no,
just
thanks cuz I'm yeah, that's great.
it's just any retrograde is what you said, Troy. It's like, you know, you're reflecting and you're thinking about like, okay, I'm moving forward, and then I'm going to reflect on that moving forward, and then I'm going to move forward farther, and I'm going to reflect on that moving forward farther, and I'm going to move even farther forward. But it's if we constantly were just powering forward at all times without any form of like reflection and kind of like contemplating and reassessing and trying to like it's finding like the better footing, a better way to go forward, and
Yeah,
that's why retrogrades happen. So it's like, you know, you move forward and then you kind of go, okay, how can I move forward better? And then how can I move forward better or whatever. Like, so that's every retrograde. So for Uranus, it's like, well, you know, how am I like how am I changing my life for the better? What insights am I getting that are better for me? And then what kind of changes am I making that are not better for me and
for
stuff like
sure.
that.
Like kind of looking over your changes is like one
Yeah.
of the things that you can use it for. Um,
Yeah.
have these actually been working? How well have I actually managed these changes? It could be more reflective about the changes that are happening in your life.
Yeah.
Um, so here's the Uranus conjunct Uranus.
Yeah.
When this transit occurs, when you're 84, it signifies the closing of an entire life cycle with very positive results. The effect of this transit is to free you from being so involved in the kinds of mundane concerns that have dominated your life so far, like paying bills and taxes, making appointments. This transit signifies changes that allow you to put your entire life into perspective and relate it to eternity in some way.
Mm.
Your perspective is increased. You know now that this world is not all there is, which in turn causes you to alter your sense of what's really important. Life is sweet, but you also understand that there's something beyond. You can enjoy life for what it is and yet not be so attached to it that you fall prey to its little illusions and snares. This
Yeah.
transit confers the highest degree of wisdom and serves to prepare you for the next step in your evolution. So how old is Trump right now? Anybody know? Is he 80?
78, I think.
80, 81, 80,
If
I
he's
think.
81, then he will get his Uranus return
Fuck.
as the
Okay,
crown of his presidency.
I gotta look it up. I
It
gotta look it
will
up. I
be the
think.
crown. So
78 years.
it's going to be crazy. And his Uranus return will be right in his 10th house, conjunct his sun, conjunct his north node.
Oh yeah, no, Troy's right. He's like he's
78.
yeah, he's 78.
78?
So
Okay. Well, that's
so
going to
not
happen
quite.
after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, but in
So,
a weird way, it's like he's closing out living in this world, doing I mean, the culmination of him living in this world and doing worldly things, and you know, is being the president of the fucking United States, which
United
is I don't
States.
think
It's
I
pretty
don't
cool.
think
I mean, he's
yeah,
risen to a pretty high
yeah.
Well,
And then after that,
maybe he'll run.
against a lot of
Maybe he'll run
odds.
again for president for just 2 years and get his whole 10 years out. I
no,
don't
no,
know.
I know. And with what Mike was saying, the lesson is also, you know, you don't have to wait till 84 to incorporate some of the lessons there. So
Oh, for sure.
you can pay your bills and live in the fucking mundane world, but also know that this is not everything. So like have that, just always have that in the back of your mind. Like I mean, it doesn't mean that you just go, oh well, fuck it, I'm not going to pay my bills and I'm not going to keep the heat on and I'm not going to like put food on the table, because those are
Well,
just the
that's a
practice.
quick way to be done with this mortal coil, though.
That's
I
true.
mean,
That's true.
you
But
know,
you can also like mentally and emotionally recognize that like yeah, like this is not everything and that's okay. And I am not defined by the fact that I have to fucking pay my bills and do my job and have these mundane fucking just blah blah life things. We are not defined by that. We can do them because we have to, but you don't have to wait till like you don't have to wait till 84 years with your Uranus return to at least in a little way
begin to explore that. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
exactly, and
Um,
let that come into yourself. So
for real.
Well, that's good
let,
to know.
let's wrap it because it has been 2 hours.
Oh,
So
good job, guys. We did
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Love
I
you
have to.
guys. Have a great night.
Yeah, I gotta go. I have to fucking go. I love you
Okay.
all. I
Yeah.
love you.
Bye, man.
Peace.
Yeah.
Love you
Peace.
guys.
Uranus be with you.
You too. Peace, brother. I love you.